It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is Starblind with Blood Red Skies. And kicking off the show tonight, we heard Madman's Lullaby with Little Demons. And this is Mick Neely of the Classic Metal Show, welcoming the Little Demon to the mic, my good friend Chris Aiken. What's going on, Chris?
That's the first time in a while anybody's called anything about me little, but okay.
The Little Demon of the show.
What's going on, man?
Well, we are back here on the Classic Metal Show on St. Patrick's Day. Not that it means anything to me, because I had to be reminded today that it was St. Patrick's Day. Not that I go out and do anything St. Patrick's Day related.
Yeah, it's, you know what, that holiday, it's one of those fake holidays to me, very much in line with like Sweetest Day.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Shit.
Well, it's just an excuse to go out and get obliterated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't need that.
Well, I know. You see, guys like you and myself who don't rely on certain times of the year to be able to do anything. We do whatever the fuck we want whenever we want to do it, regardless of what holiday or non-holiday it is.
That's right. I mean, I didn't wait till today. I blew my head off yesterday with booze.
Oh yeah, what did you do yesterday?
Just I was out with John and Steph. They got a new place, and they invited me to come out and just hang out. And oof, boy, we finally stopped drinking at 4 a.m.
Wow. Okay.
It was one of them nights where it was just, we were just out and partying, and it got to be 2, then 3, then 4, and then John was like, "Dude, I got to be up at fucking noon to drive." And I was like, "All right, well, fuck." So slept a couple hours, drove home, slept all day today. Once I got home about 9, and I just fucking passed the fuck out.
Yeah.
Just was like, oof, done.
So what was the drink of choice?
I was mixing Jack and Cokes with beers.
Okay.
So I probably had half a bottle of Jack and probably a 12-pack of beers.
Yeah, that's a lot of booze.
I was putting them down last night. Last night was one of those nights where everything just tasted really fucking good.
It was the right temperature. It was the right atmosphere. It was the right mood, and everything was flowing.
Yeah, it really was. It was one of them nights where just, and I mean, you're not as much of a drinker to get this, or maybe you do. I don't know. But there are certain times where you start drinking and just everything is perfect. And then there's other times where it's like, you drink like 1 or 2 and you're like, this ain't happening tonight.
Yeah.
And last night was not that. Last night was definitely wow, this tastes like fucking golden pussy in your mouth.
So was this a planned thing, or did this just kind of come together?
It was sort of planned, I guess. I mean, it wasn't fully planned, but it was, we've been trying to get it together, and between John's schedule with his band and my schedule with everything else, it hadn't come together. And so it finally sort of came together for last night. And the original plan was we were going to go to dinner and then just kind of hang out for an hour or 2 and then call it a night. And that didn't happen. None of that happened. It just, we got there and it was like, all right, let's just fucking drink.
Wow. Okay.
Order some pizza and drink. That sounds better.
Well, my evening was spent watching Walking Dead. I know I'm late to the game, but we're into the 4th season of that.
Okay.
And it's pretty damn good. I don't know how I missed that. It never even occurred to me to watch it, even though I've seen it pop up on the Netflix a million times.
Right.
I never even thought to even go over there and check it out. And I've seen the entertainment blogs about it over the years, but it never even occurred to me to go, man, I had to check that show out. But now that I'm watching it, I'm hooked.
Yeah. Well, hey, glad you are. That's one of those. I tried it. I watched like the whole first season. Didn't get it. I'm not. That kind of shit's just not me. The zombies and demons and all that shit. That's just not me.
Well,
I guess.
Typically it not, but it is kind of it's a pretty well done show. I'm really impressed as to how well they put that show together, and shooting all the scenes, and obviously the zombie people that they have to make up,
right?
To all these, I guess you would call them extras.
Sure.
All the extras that have to go through the makeup process to have these hordes of zombies.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
And did you see Scott Ian? He was in one of them. He was a zombie in one of them.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. No, hey, that's cool, dude. If you're into it, that's good. I mean, I personally, not my thing, but I did try to watch it because like everybody that was into it kept saying it was fucking worth watching, and just didn't do it for me.
Well, I think once I wade through all the zombies or the Walking Dead, I think the next one that I'm going to fire up and try is Shameless.
Shameless rocks, dude. So good.
Yeah, so that's the other one I have not watched, but everybody talks about how good it is. So I'm going to have to check that one out.
Shameless is right in your humor place.
All right. So that will be the next one. That'll be the next one. It's
just wrong on every level, and you watch it, and with each episode, you're like, it can't get any more wrong, and then it does. It's, I love Shameless. Such a great show. I just hope they don't wear it the fuck out, which they may be. They're in season 9, I think now, and this season's not as good as the last couple, and I'm like, I hope they're not gonna beat this thing to death,
right?
Now that the kids are all grown up and everything, it's starting to lose its luster a little bit. But.
Sure. Well, another series that I always liked from day one, and that came back after 5 years is, of course, Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I thought this latest season that was released last year, that was a really good season.
Sure.
Extremely funny. Extremely funny.
In 5 years to think about it.
Yeah, no kidding. And they did a good job in coming back.
Yeah. Well, dude, Larry David is a genius.
He is.
He's a really, really funny genius.
Yeah. Well, that is, and I've said this on the show a few times, the one thing that I'm jealous over where you're concerned is the fact that you got to sit with Larry David at Cheap Trick.
Yeah, that was such an unusual but awesome experience. It really was cool.
So, but anyway, as far as series are concerned, the other one that I finished last night, there was only 8 episodes, but I finished Flint Town.
Oh, yeah. What'd you think?
It was really good and pathetic at the same time.
Yeah, it's just scary that that's the United States.
Yeah. Well, what's so hard to believe, and again, I know a lot of it is edited for the dramatic effect for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure it's bad, but I'm sure they make it worse than what it really is.
Sure.
But just that water problem that they have.
Oh, yeah,
and,
just a mess.
And the cover-up that's gone on with that, and, because I actually watched the congressional hearings in Washington where Trey Gowdy had the commissioner in Washington asking her why this happened and how this happened, and she just basically sat there just like, well, I don't know. I don't know, and boy, he laid her out. It's like,
right.
Why don't you know? That's your job. Isn't that why you're in that position? He was just ripping her up one side and down the other.
As it should be. I mean, they're poisoning a whole goddamn town.
Yeah, no kidding. So the thing is just normal TV does not even appeal to me.
Right.
I am so into these documentaries and these original series.
Mm-hmm.
And, my hat's off to Netflix for doing such a great job over how long has Netflix been around? About 10 years?
Yeah, roughly 10, I think.
So they've done a great job in developing that company and having the original content that they do and do such a phenomenal job with it.
Yeah, they've stopped being a movie company as much as they've become a channel. They really are a channel because there's constantly new content. There's constantly new shows and new stuff of all different styles and, genres and everything. Netflix is great.
That is.
Although I don't watch it nearly as much as I used to, believe it or not. I mean, I do on occasion, but Amazon Prime has been stepping up too, which has been cool. I mean, they have a ton of good documentaries on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I know. I watch a ton of those. A lot of music documentaries. I get so involved with these music documentaries. And I know we mentioned this on the show a week or two ago, but boy, that Joel MacGyver is on so many of them.
Yeah, him and that guy with the weird teeth.
Oh, yeah, that Mick Wall.
Malcolm Dome.
Oh, him too.
Yeah, that Malcolm Dome guy. That guy looks like he could fucking eat corn through a fence, but
that is true.
But he seems to know everything there is to know about metal and hard rock.
Yeah. So I've been watching ones on bands that that I'm not even all that big of a fan of. I'm just curious about the whole genre of the music industry and what was the key to their success or their failure, or all that kind of stuff. And
sure.
I watched a short documentary. This one wasn't on Amazon Prime or anything. I watched it on YouTube today. It was on the classic rock band Badfinger.
Okay.
And boy, what a tragic deal that was. Those guys, they were supposed to be the replacement for the Beatles.
Okay.
They were on the Apple record label.
All right.
And they worked very closely with the Beatles, and I think Paul McCartney wrote a couple of their songs. And they were very Beatlesque in their, the way that they performed. Well, on their way up the charts, or on their way up the ladder to becoming a successful act, they were involved with a manager that basically robbed them blind.
Oh, wow.
And they had like a new record in the can, but their manager stole all the money for the promotion stuff and everything. They got an advance, and their manager took the advance.
Jeez.
And took all their money, and they couldn't release their new record or anything or promote it properly because they were broke. They were out of the money.
And that was that.
That was that. And then two of the guys hung themselves over their money issues.
Wow. That sucks.
Yeah.
What was their hit? Did they have a hit?
Well, they had Come and Get It.
Okay.
If you want it, here it is. Come and get it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was one of their biggest hits.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, they probably would have been big too, because that's a cool song.
It is a cool song. I actually, when I was a kid, there was a garage sale in my neighborhood, and I went down to the garage sale, and I picked that single up on the Apple record label on a 45 for 25 cents.
Wow. You still have it? Knowing you, yes.
Well, no, I'll tell you what. And I was having this discussion this week about, being brought up in somewhat of a conservative Christian household. That, rock and roll was the devil's music and all this other stuff. And I had it, and I think my mother threw it away.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, I remember picking up different 45s and things at garage sales and things, and the next thing I knew, they just disappeared.
Sure. Yeah. I don't doubt that. That's one place I was very lucky, is that my mom was such a rocker chick.
Yeah, well, her being involved with the Belkin people, that was kind of an envious thing too, because growing up in the Akron, Cleveland area, everybody and their brother knew who the Belkin Productions was.
Yeah, and that really helped me because it probably turned me into what I became, because I was around it from the time I was little. I can remember being 10 years old maybe, and meeting, one of the first bands I ever met was, and I know this is funny because it's not metal or rock or anything, but the first band I remember meeting was Captain and Tennille.
All right.
At Blossom. And my mom and dad, they went to the show, they took me, and then after we met the band, I met the Captain. So, and I mean, from the time I was a little kid, I was either at shows or, I mean, I've talked about it before, about that I got to see Zeppelin when I was 9 years old, 77.
Yeah.
Because my mom was a fan, and because she had access, I got to go to that. And, dude, believe it or not, and I don't know if I've ever told this story or not, but one of the guys that I've actually met was Harry Chapin. I met Harry.
You did mention that briefly one other time.
Yeah, when I was probably 10 or whatever, and we were at the show, and my mom was a big fan. And after the show, it was at Blossom. After the show, everybody kind of left, and we hung out. And then Harry came to the front of the stage after, and just kind of jumped down. There was about 6 or 8 people that were there with the VIP passes, and he came, shook hands, and greeted everybody.
Right.
So I met Harry Chapin at one point.
Yeah. Well, being that back in the heyday, and I know that it still goes on today, but the two big main places to go see shows was obviously Blossom in the summer and at the Coliseum during the colder months.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always a big deal. And growing up in grade school and junior high school through high school, all my friends, oh man, Aerosmith is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Night in the Ruts, I think was the album at the time.
Okay.
Or Toys in the Attic, one or the other. And my friends got to go, and then Kiss came up. That was when Kiss started really becoming big, and my friends were all into the Kiss army.
Right.
And Kiss was coming to the Coliseum.
Right.
And they get to go. Of course, I didn't get to go to any of these shows, because that was the devil's music.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't get to experience the live concert thing until I got to be old enough to be able to go on my own.
Right. Sadly for you, the shows you got to see were when that one band would come to the church, and do like church hymns with drums or whatever.
Yeah. You get to see Jack Van Impe play his what was his what is that with the squeeze box thing? What is that?
Accordion.
The accordion. There you go. And he got to play
Jack Van Impe. Oh my God.
Do you know the name?
I most certainly do. That's why I'm saying that is a pull from nowhere reference. Jack Van, he's still on TV.
Yeah, well, he came to the church and he played his accordion, and he played The Flight of the Bumblebee.
And you guys are like, oh God, praise Jesus.
That's amazing.
So yeah, dude. Unfortunately, in the waning years of my marriage, I got to see a lot of Jack Van Impe.
Really? Well, I got to meet Jack Van Impe. He came to the church, man.
Wow, that's funny. I wish there was a photo of that somewhere. You Jack Van Impe,
right? And then another traveling preacher guy was Jack Hiles.
I don't know his name.
He's out of Hammond, Indiana, and he's got a college/church. Oh, there's Demon's got a picture of Jack Van Impe in the chat room. But yeah, he was one of these fire and brimstone guys,
right?
And he would just he was one of those loud preachers and very animated. We had a pulpit up there. And he was preaching up at the pulpit, and he slammed his fist down so hard on the pulpit when he was making a point that he actually cracked the wood on the pulpit.
That's true belief, man.
Yeah, that's passion and fire.
Yeah, pal.
Yeah. So
you're gonna go to hell.
Damn it! That's exactly how it went too.
Oh, I used to love that shit with the church. Dude, I can remember my mom, her and I had the same interest of intrigue, I guess, with like, she was like kind of not churchy. She's more churchy now than she ever was back then. But I was always intrigued by the church, if nothing else, and we've talked about it before that I have a degree in theology and blah, blah, blah. So, I never was like a huge Bible thumper guy, but I always was interested in it, and I always found the stories to be cool. Maybe I didn't buy into the horse shit that there's a book that should lead me like a puppet master, but whatever. I was always interested in church, and I used to go to all of those like seminar things. Remember in the late 70s or maybe even early 80s. When they would have seminars about everything. Mm-hmm. Everything was church related.
Mm-hmm.
Why the music was the devil. And
oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I would go to those things and just be fascinated. And I can remember one in particular that I went to. It was at a church, and the guy was just railing on record after record after record. And every record he was bringing up, I had in my collection.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh man. And I was there with my mom and dad, and my mom, she couldn't be bothered with it. She was like, whatever, this is fucking stupid. But my dad was like, he kept nudging me, and he was like, do you have that record in your collection? No, Dad, no. And meanwhile, none of it was like bad. I mean, it was all like the Eagles, Hotel California. And this guy did like a 17-point dissertation on the 17 principles of the album cover of Hotel California.
Yeah, with Anton Neve in the window, and you know, all
the long hair hanging off of the balcony, and
yep,
how that's a symbol of the devil.
Well, that's funny you would bring that up, because I did watch an Eagles documentary, not that real long one where it's like 3 hours long, but it was I think it was a Joel MacGyver one.
Okay.
And I watched that this week, and they were talking about the controversial album cover of Hotel California.
Right. Dude, it was funny. But I remember that the guy took probably 45 minutes breaking down Hotel California.
Yeah.
And lyrics, and then he's playing certain pieces backwards and saying, do you hear it? And you hear like, whoa. And say, see? He said, bless the devil.
Yeah, backwards masking, man.
And then he played again, and all you'd hear again was, whoa.
Right.
You know, it's like, nah, not hearing it, dude. You know, but you'd have the rubes in the front, the old ladies going, yeah.
Well, I remember, you know, same type of seminar type of thing. They had, they were analyzing Stairway to Heaven.
Right.
And they were playing a part back there. I think it was the part that, here's where the message is. Yes, there are two paths you can go back, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. Yeah, see, even these guys, even though they're steeped in selling their souls to the devil, they realize that there's two paths. But if you play it backwards, it says, and here's to my sweet Satan.
Yeah. And that's what it sounds like.
My sweet Satan.
Yeah. But it doesn't even sound that clear. It's more like, yeah, hear it? Do you hear it? No. Don't. Just like the shoot, get the gun.
Yeah, get the gun. Shoot, get the gun. Get the gun.
But what do you actually hear? You go, yeah, there it is. See, there it is.
Yes. He said it. They're worshiping Satan this song.
Yeah. So fucking dumb.
I know. I never really bought into that, but here's one of my favorite segments right here.
So your father's the devil.
Si, senor.
You're a talking dog from hell.
Yep.
And you guys are who?
Just a couple of big fans of Nicky and the work his dad does.
Hey, by the way, Nicky, check this out. What's Ozzy trying to say there?
John, absolutely nothing. The Blizzard always came straight with his messages. But wrap your minds around this, gentlemen. Oh, no. Chicago.
I love this song.
I command you in the name of Lucifer to spread the blood of the innocent.
Oh my God, Chicago kicks ass.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
See, that's why I like Chicago so much, because they kick ass.
Yeah, but that's sadly the kind of fucking message that these dumb churches were trying to spread at that time.
Right.
That everything was bad and you could secretly find. That's why, honestly, that's one of the reasons I got into Motley Crue in the first place. Because remember, Motley was blatant about it. They were like making fun of it by saying, didn't Shout at the Devil have right in it that this album may contain backwards messages?
I think so. And of course, with all the pentagrams and all that stuff.
Right. They just made fun of the people that were believing that bullshit.
It's so funny. I remember another one that was so obscure and so random was Breaking Down Black Oak, Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. Those devil worshippers.
They were that Jim Dandy guy. He was the devil.
Yeah, demons there.
Yeah, that's why David Lee Roth stole his shtick, because he wanted to worship the devil.
That's right. Wanted to have a good life, and it worked.
So great. Yeah. So when, I go back and see some of these old documentaries or some of these old footages of some of these fire and brimstone preachers, mostly from the 50s when rock and roll was on the rise.
Sure.
And they were talking about the evils of rock and roll. And of course, Elvis Presley was the devil.
Oh, yeah.
And, it was just like that jungle beat riles up it causes one to have demonic thoughts and impure thoughts because of the jungle beat.
And the way he shakes his hips.
Exactly.
And the stupid assholes at the TV, though, didn't they in the 50s, they wouldn't show him but from the waist up?
Yeah, because of the censorship, yeah.
Because they didn't want to show his hips gyrating.
Right.
Meanwhile, now we get fucking Nicki Minaj twerking with her pussy barely covered by a thong.
Right.
We get that on network TV now.
See, they knew that that's where it was going to go, so they had to try to tamp that down a little bit.
Yep, they were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it took 50 years for those devil worshippers to get their way, but now it's here, and now we have to deal with it.
Damn straight.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Where is home entertainment like Jack Van Impe these days?
Well, he's still out there. He's out there on the CBN network, whatever that is, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, you kind of always reminded me of Dracula.
Dude, one of these weeks I should just tape one of his shows and just bring it to the show, because he's a fucking card. He is definitely somebody we could have fun with his show, because he does it. It's him and his wife has had so much plastic surgery that, I don't know, that Tonka would probably approve her face.
What is her name? Something Wald Zelda or something like that? Or
I forget what her name is.
Yeah, I met her too.
But they prop it up like it's real news. But every story is like, yeah, and in Wisconsin today, a couple was banished to eternal damnation because they raped 2 children. You know what I mean? They do it in a way that it's like they try to pretend it's real news, but it's really just religious horse shit.
Right.
Just being spit out there. And then of course you get Jack's final thoughts of the show. Where he has a final dissertation about why, if you don't change your life right away, you're going to hell.
So let me ask you, final thoughts on the show. Tommy Lahren, Jack Van Impe.
Oh, Jack Van Impe. Of course.
Tommy, she could be the devil.
Tommy, I could listen to without ever having the volume on, just as long as I look at her. She gives me those Elvis-like improper thoughts.
Right.
Jack Van Impe, I've never once gotten a hard dick from watching. One time.
So good. So with all that influence growing up the way that I did, I don't know how I ended up the way that I have.
Simple, you rebelled.
I did.
You rebelled against what you were taught.
Well, that's a word that got bandied about very often, is rebel.
Sure. I gotta imagine your parents said that you were rebelling.
It wasn't really so much my dad. My dad, he kind of let live and let live type of guy.
Right.
He wouldn't let us get out of control or anything, but it was more my mom. She was more the Bible thumper in the family that, and she was very, everything was evil.
Right.
From the clothes to the hairstyles to the music to whatever you were doing, there was an evil connotation to it.
Right.
Tattoos are evil. Long hair is evil. Black clothes are evil. Anything that's rock and roll related, it's evil.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You did her proud.
There we go. Rexzella. That was her name.
Rexzella?
Rexzella.
Rexzella Van Impe, baby.
Yeah. Yep.
Look at her face, though. Wow. Is that plastic or what?
Yeah, I wouldn't have recognized her if I saw her again, but looking at that picture, I didn't know who that was, to be honest with you.
That's her.
Yeah. How old are they now? Because when they came to the church, this was in the mid-'70s, so It's been 40 years.
Yeah, they got to be pushing, about 112?
Probably.
I mean, they're old. Well, let's look up our good friend Jack Van Impe and see what his age is. Jack Van Impe.
Because I think they came to the church in 1975.
Jack is 87 years young.
Okay. So he was already 44 years old when I met him.
Let's see how old Rexella May Shelton is. The wife. Paste and search. Jack Van Impe, Rexella Van Impe. What, they don't have a wiki for her? Oh, she's 85. So 87 and 85. And she looks like that at 85? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, she and Joan Rivers shared beauty secrets.
It's like a Halloween mask that she never takes off.
Too good. Well, my dad had a birthday this week. He's 89.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of years. He got it all in.
He did, but he's very very with it. Gets around just fine. Does all his stuff around the house, mows the lawn, tends to his bees in his garden.
Jeez.
Does all this stuff.
Man, oh man. Yeah, he's already made it to the point though. At this point, when you get to that age, you don't worry about dying anymore, do you?
I wouldn't know, but I'm going to guess no, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're like, oh, I still got. You don't still sit around thinking, man, I still got to get this done or that done before I go. You got to be at the point where you're like, all right, now I'm in cruise control.
I'm just cruising along day to day.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna do what I want to do every day, and hopefully, I get to wake up tomorrow. That's what I gotta imagine. That's what it's like when you get to that age.
You would think, but yeah, he seems to be doing all right. I had a talk with him on his birthday just to catch up, see what's up.
That's cool. 89. Wow. I'll never see that age.
Jackal. I wonder if Neely's dad has 40 years of presents wrapped in the closet.
Neely, you go to visit your dad and you take your chick with her, and he thinks it's his great-great-grandchildren.
Well, the funny thing is, I'll tell you that, I stopped by there back in January, and I think it was the end of December. No, it was the end of December. It was near New Year's. It was before New Year's, and I stopped in there with her and visited. Yeah. And when I talked to him, I don't know, a few weeks later, he said, your little girlfriend sent me a nice note thanking me for taking the time to show her, because my dad has been into beekeeping since like the early 70s.
Sure.
And she's got an interest in nature stuff, birds and bees and outdoorsy things, so he was giving her a little crash course in beekeeping.
Right.
And so she sent him like a card or a note that said, hey, thanks for taking the time and showing me all this stuff and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I said, yeah, she's a pretty sweet girl. And he goes, yeah, she's a little young for you. He told me flat out, I think she's a little young for you.
And you were like, Dad, this is the closest I've ever dated to my age.
And then on top of that, I said, you think so? And I said, I don't know. We seem to have a pretty good connection or good commonality. And he goes, yeah, those younger girls are always looking for that father figure.
That's funny.
So, yeah. He says, what are you running around with a young girl like that for? That's the worst. That's the worst, isn't it? Running around with the young girl.
Yep. Well, that's terrible. You should be ashamed.
I am ashamed.
Shame.
I'm sure the devil had something to do with that too.
Why don't you be like everybody, like all the rest of us, and run around with some beaten up old hag?
Exactly.
That life is wrecked. Why don't you do that, dude? Chick that looks every single minute of her 45 plus years. 45 going on fucking the crypt.
Look at Deep Cut in the chat room. So good.
That's funny.
What has my life become?
apparently, perv heaven.
I guess. Look at Chad Neely, the pedo.
Hey, whatever.
Wow.
It's not pedo now. Maybe 11 years ago it might have been considered pedophilia, but not today.
True.
Today it's a different story.
Exactly. Oh well. It keeps life interesting. That's all I can say.
I'll bet. And by interesting, you mean sexually satisfied.
Look at Bobby Daughtry in the chat room. Older women don't ask much, and you don't miss them when they leave.
There's truth to that.
So good.
I don't know. I dated the one young one, Teresa.
Yeah.
And I've dated quite a few of them that are closer to my age. And I got to be honest, neither's better than the other. They're both a pain in the fucking dick to me. Well, the young one just wanted to fucking drink all the goddamn time, which that's not necessarily bad for me, except for I fulfill that. So that's not so good on my behalf. And then the old ones just want to they want to lock you in because they're afraid of being alone.
Right.
So there's big problems with that.
Yeah. I never got that whole thing because, even on movies and even in real life, you hear, do you want to die alone? You're going to be alone.
Yeah, well, okay, I won't remember.
But the thing is that, I think a lot of guys can be alone more than women can.
Oh, yeah. Well, because we don't put status on relationships.
True.
I guess I can't say that I'm not trying to paint a broad picture here, but I would say most guys I know just don't, it's like, okay, well, here's my chick. And that's kind of it. It's not like, let me tell you about this budding relationship that I have. It's just wonderful. But no, it's not like that. It's like, all right, here I am, and this is my chick. And the only time it gets to be like a little bit weird is when you go do stuff and there's like all couples and you. Like I did that last night. Last night there was 2 couples and me. But that was sort of my choice because I could have really, I sort of was asked if the other one wanted to go, and I told her no. I said, nah, you're not invited. I did. Because that was the plan. The plan was not, don't invite yourself to something else.
Right, exactly.
It's not your fucking invite. If you were invited, I would have fucking invited you. But for me, I don't want that. I don't want, and again, it goes back to what we say all the time about the best relationship. The best relationship comes with more compromises than I'm willing to have.
Right.
And even last night, I'm watching, the other 2 couples, and, there wasn't much bickering or any of that shit, but there was still a little bit of that, well, what are we going to do if... Yeah, I'll just keep drinking here.
Hand the jack over, will you?
Yeah, exactly. You 2 keep arguing. Let me have the fucking drink.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pass the bottle.
Yep. It's I don't know. I'm not sold on it yet. Maybe in another 5 years. And if not, I'll just have to die alone and be sad and still won't remember shit.
Right.
See, that's the whole thing about dying alone. If you really isolate it down, you've got 3 options, and none of them are made better by having somebody there. If you believe in God and you've been a good person, then you're going to go to heaven, and even if you were alone, the pain of that is going to dissipate because you're going to go to heaven and everything's going to be eternal bliss.
Exactly.
If you're a fucking asshole and you believe in God, well, you're going to hell, and that fucking eternal frying is going to be far worse than not having some chick to hold your hand when you fucking stop breathing.
Exactly.
And then if you don't believe in either, well, then the world just stops, and you ain't going to have any memory anyway. So again, it doesn't fucking matter. Any way you look at it, it doesn't matter if somebody's sitting next to you when you fucking take that last breath. It just doesn't matter. Well, I'll be sad going into... So what? Sad, happy, or mad, you're going to be dead. And it ain't going to matter. So Why worry about it?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much for the person who's, passing on. I think it's for the living.
I guess.
Because then they have to live with this thought process that, he was alone. It's like, well, maybe he enjoyed it.
Yeah, the only way they got to live with that thought process is if that's the message you send them. If you send your loved ones the message of worry about me because I'm going to die alone, that's the only way it's going to be. If you had the fucking wherewithal to tell your people, I don't give a shit if I die alone, then they won't worry about it so much.
Right.
Nobody's going to give a fuck. And even if they do worry about it, you know what? That's on them. Because you're not going to be there to pick up the fucking pieces. So who gives a shit? Be fucking sad. Be happy, be fucking sad. Either way, I'm not going to care. Because I'm going to be a dead fucking slab of fucking flesh. That's all I'm going to be. A slab of flesh that I hope doesn't get claimed.
Right.
Gets thrown into the dumpster at the hospital.
Just let the zombies get me.
Just do whatever. Cook me up, fucking grind it up and stick it into a fucking bowl of dog food for all I care.
Right.
It's fucking dead meat.
Exactly. It's the end of the line, pal.
Yeah, and that's our death segment.
Exactly. Well, coming up here in a little more lively segment,
yes,
bassist Anthony Esposito has agreed to call into the show and actually take listener calls.
Yes.
And he's apparently going to wait by the wings here and, be a part of the show tonight and tell us what's going on with him. And he's had a very storied career and worked with a lot of great musicians, anywhere from George Lynch to Ace Frehley to currently Jakey Lee. Mm-hmm. And he does some producing, and he worked with members of Guns N' Roses and, all kinds of things. So the guy's been around a long time.
Sure. Hall of Fame resume.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, and he's a good guy to boot.
Yeah. And he actually said he wants people to call in and ask whatever they want. He said nothing is off limits.
All right.
And I'm hopeful that the audience is going to test that tonight.
Sure.
But I have a couple of questions too that might test that as well. So
right.
We'll have some fun.
Absolutely. So anyway, Anthony is coming up here in just a couple of minutes. So if you want to jump in and be a part of the conversation, I'll open up the phone lines when Anthony comes on. We'll talk to him for a few minutes, and then I'll let you know when you can start calling, and we'll take your calls, and you can speak to Anthony Esposito.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right, so everybody go grab a drink or do whatever it is you got to do, and we're going to play a song or two, and we'll come back with Anthony and talk to him and take your phone calls and all that fun stuff, and we'll see where it goes.
All right.
All right. Let's see here. I'm going to pick a tune here.
Okay.
Let me see. What do we got on the list? I got some Rock Karma.
All right.
Our fans seem to like Rock Karma.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I'm going to play here is let's play a song just called Let's Go.
All right.
All right. So here it is. This is Rock Karma with the Bring It release, and it's Let's Go exclusively here
on your classic metal show.